Conscious collaboration brings together entrepreneurs, changemakers, and thought leaders. We aim to highlight the people that embody the idea of aligned mind, body, and business. Each week, we share, discuss, and learn from the various experiences and ideas of our guest experts. Through our discovery, we find a path to an aligned mind, body, and business.
What up, guys? I'm Lisa.
And I'm Emily, and together we are a little bit crazy and also the Conscious Collaboration Podcast. What up, guys?
Hi. Did you almost kind of want to say that you were me because we switched our roles in the introduction? Because I almost said it was
still
Emily.
Gemini season. That would be appropriate, you know. Just pull the old switcheroo.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying it.
It's been I don't think wild is the right word, but there's just been a lot going on.
Yeah.
I'm not mad about it, but it's been a lot going on, and I think worthy of a little bit of extra attention to just continually auditing and checking in.
Yep, I think so. I think you and I were not expecting to do a month-long energy check-in, but I think it is necessary. I think it was, I think our intentions were to do a mid-year check-in, really. And it feels like every week in June has been a roller coaster.
Yeah. A little bit. Yeah. I don't know. Like,
Unexpected. I mean, there's stuff in my personal life and then my, community life and then globally that are happening that I just would never have expected.
Mm-hmm.
It's
not bad. It's really, it doesn't feel, to me at least, like, some of these times previously when there's just towers falling all around and it just seems chaotic. There's a lot.
It is chaotic, though, I will say.
Well, yeah, but such is life, right? Like, to me, that's all in the lens that you put on it. And I don't know. It feels all good and just, or maybe not all good. Nothing's ever all good 100%, but just necessary energy surrounding big changes and transitions.
Well, it's disruptive. And I think there's a lot of agitators, energetic agitators happening. But I think that's when there's a new beginning and
always,
things are going to, it's like we've always said, to have that grain of sand agitating the oyster creates the pearl. But it does just seem like, I will say that I feel very grateful and very privileged right now, considering a lot of things happening. But I do just feel that there's change in so many different things. Just from, we talked about the end of last year coming into this year about revolution, major revolution. Mm-hmm. And that's happening. Look at what's happening with AI and the way that we do jobs and how we look at currency. And as we've been talking about, I think the rise of women with strong voices and how we're focusing and looking at health and mindset. So I think it's all happening. And I'm not sure that some of these things would have happened without any type of grain of sand.
It can't. And look, whatever you consider like the grain of sand, right? I'm trying to be vague and not specifically political, but you know what I mean? Like the things that people are revolutionizing against. Mm-hmm. In my view, those things are not the root cause. Those are the symptoms, right? Those are just the manifestations of the root cause. So in order to, I think that's a really great analogy to kind of lean into biology and health. And when you're looking at root cause medicine, if you just mask the symptoms, well, you're not really creating any meaningful change or healing.
Right.
And a lot of times, in that same analogy of health in the body, to create true healing is very disruptive, right? Detox reactions and just all sorts of things as you create that healing. So and I was having a really nice conversation the other day, just reflecting back on certain things in our lives that, at the time we thought were bad or negative, but it was like, oh my gosh, like thank God for, that, because that led to a domino effect of things that, it wouldn't have, the progress achieved by now would not have been achieved without that. And, the same goes if you apply that to, politics, social matters, any of these other things. If you're not addressing the root cause, if you're just masking the symptoms and saying, oh, no, everything's okay, well, then like everything's just gonna continue to
makes so much, it makes so much sense reflecting back, because every time we're preparing for our podcast discussion, I reflect back on our previous episodes, and it really does tell a continual story. And then when you look back at what we were reflecting on 1 year and 2 years ago, it's like now it all makes sense what we were picking up on. I like the analogy to health too, and the root cause, and I think that's really wise to speak to. Before, because we're going to do an energy check-in because we just feel it's super necessary. But before we get too much further, I didn't tell you about this, but so one of a feng shui master in my community, Howard Choi, just passed away 2 days ago, I believe. He's like such a kind, radiant man, and I didn't get to train or study with him, but I was able to meet with him when we were preparing for our International Feng Shui Guild Summit. He was one of the speakers, so I got to attend one of his sessions and just to prepare with him and everything. And there's a lot. It's not just Howard Choi, but there's a lot of teachers and mentors and gurus of that era that are leaving now. And so I just went onto his Facebook page just to see what's going on there. Obviously the whole feng shui community is upset about it. And it's, all just missing his energy. But his byline on Facebook says, "I am just me coming in and going out like the seasons." But I really love that. We're only here temporarily for a short while, and so many of us are compelled to make positive impact, or find our purpose in life. And I just I think, to what you were saying, I think people cling to things that make them feel comfortable to an unhealthy degree, that eventually it's a thing that dismantles whatever it is that you're clinging to.
Attachment is the root of all suffering, right?
Yes. Oh, dang, it comes back to that. But yeah, I mean, so just accepting, the fluidity and the coming and the going and the cycles. But we were all really just, I think, the world recovering from the pandemic, even just really clinging to things that were safe and comfortable. And we're like, okay, don't disrupt us anymore. We're comfortable. And as if that was indeed not the case. There were other things besides a pandemic. And I think it goes beyond just us having constant awareness and connection through social media. I mean, that's a layer of it, but there truly are significant revolutions that are happening, and we need to let go of the things that we thought we couldn't do without.
Yeah, and I mean, I predict that there's yet more to be uncovered to really get after that root cause that
Mhm.
people still aren't quite connecting with if they want to see that change.
Yeah. Well, maybe it'll come through in our check-in. So did you bring your cards today?
I have my tarot deck
Cool.
chilling right here. I haven't dusted this bad boy off in a while.
Ooh, that's exciting. Okay. So you want to start with tarot or I Ching?
Probably I Ching. I think
Like an overarching,
and then this is as a kind of a punctuation.
like a more nuanced. Okay, so let's check in and see what the general energy is around the conscious collaboration collective, those who are listening to us whenever they find this episode. Be interested to see if the same themes come out as with people I've been reading with. Ooh. So the general energy around the conscious collaboration collective is grace and beauty. And what we can expect, wait till you see these, you're going to like these. So what we can expect moving forward to maintain our growth and our momentum. So grace and beauty. This is coming out in general readings. Hexagram 22. It's again, it looks like, it looks like that fire beneath the earth.
A little cave.
Yeah, the cave is almost like an open palm, even a palm up. Receiving maybe.
Well, and when I heard the word grace, of course, you can apply that to, your own personal characteristics. But I thought of giving others grace as well. I think that there's a big lack of that right now. Just in terms of people attaching themselves, we'll go back to that, to things that they don't agree with. And clinging to those things, which at the end of the day just drags out a problem, right? As opposed to giving others grace, even in the case of strong disagreement.
Yeah, I mean, clinging to the things that you're fearful of or that you hate. Is probably
fear, tolerance, hate, all of that is involved.
Yeah,
I think in all directions. I'm going to add that as well.
It's very spider webby.
I'm going to add that as well.
Yeah, that's interesting.
If you are seeking tolerance, you must also be tolerant.
So grace and beauty, that's our collective. I think that's really great because we know that we're a community of change makers, thought leaders, entrepreneurs. I mean, I think this is our time to really be good examples as best we can, and also allowing grace for ourselves when we're rattled in the noise of it all. But what is that? Instagram reel that we keep sharing with each other where
The one where with the puking noise?
oh no, not that one. But it's not relevant.
What do I do?
Yes, well, wait, that's relevant, actually. Oh my gosh, I love the origin story of that. We need to have that going on. I wonder how old he
we
is
need
now.
to find him.
I was thinking about the interview one where they're like, "Tell us, do you have any more special skills?"
Do you have any special skills? We haven't brought that one out in a while.
Yeah, but I think this is our time to shine. Like we've been a quiet forming, not just us within our collective, but there's others, but I think it's in our energy of grace and beauty is to just kind of be that grace and beauty in a way that is influential, equally influential as the antithesis of that. And then moving forward, the energy that we're looking to achieve is affluence.
Like that.
That's
the
cool.
eyeball octopus. Oh, what did we have? Like we called it a squid. What did we call that one day? Eyeball squid.
So many references in this artwork. Yeah. So it's artwork by Joan Larimore, and she's interpreting the translation of I Ching by Paul O'Brien, and the card is just fierce. Like I would like this somewhere. A lot of these I would hang on my wall in different times, but this has a pyramid in it. It has elements of creation. It looks like egg.
There's a lot going on, but there's a strong focal point.
Yeah, and there's like is that an eyeball and like third eye kind of vibe? But there's a pyramid above, a pyramid below, dark and light, and then flames again. So yeah, lots happening there. That is an eyeball and an egg, just so you know. I know you can't see it really closely.
There's a bit of glare.
Just a deeper discussion before we pull some tarot. And I don't know what kind of spread you're thinking or a couple of reference cards, but
I don't really have a particular spread that I work with. You
can just kind of wing it.
See what comes out.
So it's this kind of goes with the theme of our recent energy check-in. So it talks about grace is neither an all-powerful force nor an essential or fundamental thing. By itself, it is form without content.
I remember that line.
You remember that, right? So it arises out of adherence to form. The dancer becomes the choreography of the dance, the musician giving life to a musical score, and the painter becoming one with brush and canvas. In human affairs, grace is aligned with mastery of aesthetic and cultural forms, honed by time and honored by traditions. So there is just really, there's a lot of humanity in this energy. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Which I think we could use a lot more of. And again, I want to emphasize, I'm talking to everybody.
Yeah. Okay.
Like because I think we, people can get in this very sort of self-righteous place where, they believe their views to be the best and only, and an opposing view to be morally inferior. And with that and this is coming from a person who used to do this, okay?
Yeah.
And maybe still, I'm not perfect by any means, maybe still do in some cases. And there's a lot of room for self-examination there. But at any rate, I think people just, I don't know, maybe they're content in this place of opposition rather than trying to give grace.
Right.
Even in the face of a view that you do not understand, with the intention of trying to understand. That doesn't mean agree with, that doesn't mean condone, but understanding and grace is what allows for humanity and peace and tolerance and all these things that people say that they're seeking. But there I see it as being a big dissonance in a lot of ways between, we want this, we want the best treatment of humans, but at the same time the actions are just adversarial. So,
Yeah.
again, if you want tolerance, you must give tolerance. And that means even if you don't agree with something.
Yeah.
And that's the
Yeah.
only way to really open up conversation and create a middle ground for change.
So the ideal that is in human culture rooted in this is the ideal of life raised above the struggle for survival. Very simple. Not, we can still have the appreciation for beauty and gifts and things, but the true substance is in the simplicity. And the change lines, there's quite a few, but it's really more interpersonal, or as we say in Feng Shui, midheaven. There's not like any kind of big, huge divine or heavenly lesson in this. But it says the simpler choice may cause a slight feeling of regret at first, but in the end, it will bring true peace of mind and stable relationships with good people. So the opposite of that is like brilliance and fame and fortune. So having the dignity and the honor and the transcendence. So it's very much like interpersonal work, which I think, as we talk about grace and beauty within our collective, I think we all understand that to a degree. I think that, the energy of us being grace and beauty is like, being that which, like giving content to that which we desire, which I think, you're talking about understanding and giving grace. I wonder what other references there would be to that.
I think you just always got to try to bring to the table what you'd like others to bring to the table. And that requires really a constant process of self-examination.
Yeah. I mean, so the other line of this really is looking at ourselves and, separating self-adornment. That does not bring success. That's often confused with vanities, often confused with grace. So it's talking about don't put too much attention to external appearances. That stifles the grace of movement and bearing, which are the most important ingredients. So giving grace to, I even think like imperfections is important.
Well, and another sort of health and human body analogy, the more that we work on our true health, metabolic health and otherwise, the better it reflects externally. Like by working on that, you are more attractive visually, without having to put the focus on the vanity aspect. And there's nothing wrong with being mindful of your appearance to some degree. Like I think running around looking disheveled sends, message, doesn't necessarily apply to being and giving grace either. But I think you just get a couple of birds with one stone when you focus on the substantive part of things, and it affects the external.
Yeah, I think it's, great to have an appreciation for beauty and thinking about mindset and the energy that we create for ourselves to be mindful of good nutrition, like you're saying, that you can't correct that aesthetically without
Right. We need energetic good nutrition and energetic exercise to energetically look good. Same as we need in our bodies good mindful nutrition and good mindful exercise. And if you take care of those things, you will look good on the outside.
Right. I think that that's the energy that our collective is in. I'm sure everybody's nodding. Then that's why they're here and they stay with us week after week. And moving forward, the energy of affluence is hexagram 14, and it indicates supreme success. So it's like the proverbial pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. A person whose fortunes have turned for the better shines brightly now. So despite any kind of agitations that are happening, take a moment to recognize the supreme success in your life. It could come in the form of more wealth, the wealth of financial wealth, or time, or freedom. And it's a powerful time when prosperity begins to manifest. And it says, when added power is wielded with grace and dignity, we have supreme success and great abundance. So a very satisfying life moving forward. So a reminder that not to get swept up in in the things that agitate us, and to stay attentive, managing your affairs well. So even as success, perhaps it's wealth, perhaps it's more, however that looks for you, if that's more opportunities, if it's more people, places, and things, make sure that you're managing your affairs. And lasting prosperity is one that honors the highest values and furthers the collective good. So keeping in mind, experiencing this supreme success, how can that be forward, or how can that be paid forward to the collective? So I think that's...
And remembering that the collective consists of everybody. Right. Yeah. Even the ones who think differently. So
right. Yeah. I think ultimately it's the things that are happening now are creating the future's world that we're living in. So I think that's I think that's something that our community and those that listen to us plug into probably very well.
I hope so.
I think so. That's the vibe I'm getting from the collective in Facebook, and and the guests that we receive are real collective minded people making changes and changing the systems. Things aren't going to look the same in the next 15, 20 years. The way that medicine is practiced.
Right? They shouldn't.
Right, exactly.
They absolutely shouldn't. We're in trouble if at any 15-year period, if you look at the beginning and the end of it and things look the same.
Right, exactly.
Stagnation, right? All right. That knock, if you heard it, was me on the tarot deck.
Pin it up.
Well, I was taught to do that kind of knock before and after every time I use it, just to kind of release any stagnant energy.
Yeah.
And like I said, I haven't, just got a peek of the Empress, who I think is the epitome of grace and beauty. Okay, maybe these. Oh, look, she came back out. Okay. So I was supposed to see that. And she's right in the middle. So if I pulled 3 cards, and if we read it like the middle card kind of being the main energy, we got the Empress,
Beautiful.
who is pregnant with the whole world, right? And she is the epitome of grace and beauty and understanding. And she's all 4 of the queens in tarot combined. So really, like, the best characteristics of all worlds: very abundant, very fertile, very attractive, but in a way that is very relaxed, right?
Mhm.
And just the way that she is, and just the way that she exists, attracts all of the things to her, as well as, she's like the queen of queens. So, in this sort of analogy, she would be like the matriarch of the whole collective, and one that all people feel safe to, bring their concerns to, regardless of whatever side of any line they fall on. So I think that's kind of the perfect.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And she is not a vain character, right? But she's beautiful. And again, that goes back to that, like, if we are attending to our energy and our spirit and our health, then we are beautiful without really having to put any specific effort into it. So I think that's a great kind of summation of everything that we were talking about. And then the other 2 supporting energies, one is the 4 of Cups, and Steve calls this, in this deck, the girl who's pooping in the yard.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. She's like sitting on the
if you see her face, so this is like there's 4 cups, which really represent like emotional energy, and she's got this cup right in front of her that is being offered as a gift. You see, there's another hand.
Yeah, I mean, it's
with this beautiful rainbow and sparkles, and
that came up. That came up in the I Ching, the proverbial pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Well, she ain't looking at it. She ain't even looking at it. It's right in front of her face, and she's like, she's got this like apathetic, like annoyed almost look on her face.
Yeah, like, all of my cups are empty.
And she's just worried about the 3 empty cups. So, I think that's a very, just kind of a little nod, like, hey, don't focus on what it is that you don't like.
Or what you don't have.
Gifts, on what you don't like, on what you don't have.
Because something's being handed to you.
On what you perceive as negative, right? That doesn't mean that you can't acknowledge the existence of negative energies, but if all you're looking at is, if all you're thinking about is yellow cars, all you're going to see is yellow cars.
Right.
Right. And you're going to miss the fucking rainbow, the sparkly rainbow that's right in front of you. So, don't be the pooping girl in the yard. Focus on the abundance and the gifts and the good things, and you'll attract and create more of that for those around you too. And then Queen of Pentacles as a supporting energy. This is really just another, like, just, she's one of the 4 queens that makes up the Empress energy, and she's really very Pentacles are abundance, are earthly matters, resources, and she looks perfectly content. She doesn't need a thing outside of her.
She's resting in a giant Pier 1 chair.
Yeah, look at her facial expression. She's just like, I'm good,
Yeah.
I have what I need. And therefore, when you are in that energy, and it's not about, she's not in this like opulent setting, she's in nature, right? And she's not sitting on a golden throne, but she
it's a chair
has
from the
everything she needs within. And when you maintain yourself in that energy, right? This is the opposite of lack energy. Then you can, and you have to be like, a ton of people that I listen to say this in different ways, but you have to be in this energy before you actually have abundance.
Right.
You have to already feel abundant. So quit, and it's a nice opposite, I think, from this, where she could be sitting there in an abundant rainbow. She would just turn her head in the other direction and quit, feeling sorry for herself. And she could be this instead, and then this, the Empress. So that's kind of what I get out of that. And then just at the bottom of the deck, it's a nice one. This is the Ace of Swords. So this is really like, swords are the intellectual suit. So Ace of Swords is kind of like epiphany energy. Just really having that central idea, and I think I kind of referred to like a cognitive dissonance earlier, so I think that would be the opposite of that, like having this like realization that maybe I am approaching this in a way that's not necessarily for the highest good of the whole collective.
Yeah, being really self-reflective. I think that's like represented in, does everybody in that deck have their eyes closed and looking away?
Everyone's eyes are closed except for Poopin' Girl.
Yeah, she's kind of staring.
Yeah. But
so
I think these are all internally focused. The Queen, the Empress, and the Ace of Swords. They're all like internal, they're seeing.
So
but it's all within.
Spiral staircase is very much like the Fibonacci spiral.
Yeah, her head.
Yeah.
There are
there's other little symbols in that too, but just looking what that means is the spiral is seen as a map for spiritual growth, encouraging us to find our place within the larger tapestry of existence. Yeah, so we're only here for a short period of time. We gotta do as much as we can to stay alert and clear. And I think that's kind of what's cool is I think when we ask what is the energy about our collective, that I think everyone has an awareness of this if they're attracted to our content. I think everyone is in that space of grace and beauty, but to have those reminders to keep ourselves in check, our vanity, our distractions, our attachments.
And I would add that I think that vanity also could be applied to that idea of self-righteousness, you know, that your perspective is always the best one. And I keep having this thought of like the Facebook frames, you know,
Yeah.
and that, I mean, that's just a symbol of, you know, if I do this and I visualize this, you know, belief, then I don't know, it's like moral vanity, right? Like,
It's like bumper stickers on cars.
like, am I more concerned with what people think I do and believe, or with the actual outcomes of my actions and my words and my thoughts and the way I treat others? Just something to think about.
Yeah. I think it's important to hold true as much as you can to your core values and reevaluating those. And you don't need a bumper sticker or a Facebook frame to advertise that in social media if you exist in that manner every day. And I'm not knocking people that love to look very beautiful or dress impeccably or to show up to impress. And certainly because there's a lot of joy in that too for a lot of people. But it's not the same as the inner light that lights you up. Yeah.
And it's just another thing to audit. And I'm not knocking anybody in particular, but, you know, I've definitely had this conversation with myself over time and really changed the way I approach things.
Yeah.
I'm not even knocking you if you use the Facebook frames, but I literally, like, this is literally something that a transition that I
have you used
gone
the
through
Facebook
myself
frames in the past?
Not in many years, but yeah, I have in the past. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And you know, there was some just self-examination over time, like, okay, why am I actually doing this, and what outcome is this creating versus, you know, something else? Just having actual conversations with people, having conversations with people who don't agree with me, you know, challenging conversations. I think, and what I decided for myself is that, you know, having those challenging conversations was actually a lot more fruitful and felt a lot more productive than just, you know, saying, I believe this and I'm going to go whatever.
Yeah, standing behind whatever symbol you feel you need to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I mean, that's a good thought to think about, certainly. And you know,
And I'm
I think
not saying it's bad to use, you know, like in every case, but it's worth examining.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's, you know, our values are not a club that we decide we want to join. They're just who we are.
Right.
I'm not going to join like that peaceful club and show
Well, that is a human dynamic, though, and it can be taken advantage of. You know, that we do have an innate sense of tribalism as
Sure.
humans. And so, you know, entities can take advantage of that and, you know, really have you sort of representing things that might be different once you start to peel back the surface layers.
Right. Yeah.
It might be achieving different outcomes than what you are actually trying to achieve by doing that.
Yeah. Interesting thought. Like
Are
different,
the
different
outcomes matching, you know, are the outcomes aligned with what you're actually trying to achieve?
Yeah. The way I see it, and I've seen a lot of that recently, especially, the past couple weeks, you know, the way I was perceiving things is a lot of people having conversations that are challenging is difficult for them. So they use images to start the conversation, maybe, or to represent the words that they can't find, right or wrong. I mean, I think that's what I'm seeing people do.
I don't think that helps our communication skills, though. You know,
no,
that's a little
certainly,
bit of
but
a,
I do know
it's
there's
a little bit of a mask.
yeah, and I think that's a big part of it. A lot of people do find safety in masking because they're not good communicators, and that's something that people can choose to do or not.
But just like anything, communication you become good at by getting the reps in.
Yeah, I mean, we do.
By saying I suck at squatting,
Yeah.
so I'm just gonna not do it and expect to get better. Like that
Yeah.
doesn't. And if you're, if you're hiding behind communication challenges, if you're hiding behind symbols and artwork for communication challenges,
I think it's a first step.
What is the contribute? Where are the outcomes that are aligned with your values?
I think it's a first step because doing that does initiate. It is an agitation to some people. It does initiate some kind of conversation, and we're lucky. Every week we have a platform that we're having conversations, and it's not scary for us. But for a lot of people, we know having guests on, they're like, "Oh my God, this is my first podcast. I'm so scared," when we can talk for hours and hours. But I think sometimes the first step for people is a sticker on their car and someone
Maybe
not being happy about it.
Maybe. Or maybe it just kind of keeps us in the keyboard warrior place, which isn't, can you communicate online? Yeah, it's possible. There are ways, but this is really not where the productive conversations are happening. And I used to be a person who preferred to be surrounded by people who generally thought the same as me. But I mean, that's for me been a part of my growth over the last handful of years, is really trying to have those conversations. They can get awkward and uncomfortable, but that's the point.
Yeah.
That's the point. And that's where you generate, again, even if it's not an agreement, but that's where you generate more understanding, more empathy, and more inner peace, because you're not being triggered by everything. I mean,
I think that a lot of people do hold things in, and it becomes a giant resentment that negatively impacts their
and so much of it is based on assumptions and stories that you're telling yourself about what this other person thinks, where if you just have the conversation, most times you'll find out that it's not actually the story that you've told in your head at all.
Might be pleasantly surprised.
And everybody wants to be heard. And if you're just making all these presumptions based on, whatever, who a person voted for, or what, I don't know, what kind of Facebook frame they have on their picture. You're not really seeking that understanding.
Yeah. Well, I think that we should encourage more conversations inside of our closed and private Facebook group, especially if you're someone that you're taking that first step and you have a Facebook frame and you've realized you have a conviction that's rooted in values that are core to you. Perhaps you can feel comfortable in sharing inside of our group. I'd say grace and beauty. That's the energy that we're in. So I think everyone's open-minded and innovative, certainly change makers, thought leaders, and entrepreneurs. If that aligns with you, come say hello, introduce yourselves to the group. You can download our complimentary 2025 alignment guide, and congratulations to the people that there were 30 downloads in the last week. So thank you for your downloads there. And if you feel comfortable coming inside of the Facebook group and share where you are, checking in with yourself, let us know if this I Ching tarot card reading mashup resonated with you. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
I was happy to bring those out. I hadn't
yeah, they're pretty. I was just going to say, like, now I love the artwork on both of the collections. I love the artwork that came about today. So a lot of really cool imagery. Are there any male figures in that tarot deck, or are they all female?
Oh yeah.
Okay, we just happen to get all female.
We just had all females, yeah.
That's interesting. It's beautiful. But
yeah,
all right, guys. Well, Emily, thanks that was very therapeutic and introspective, and always good doing an energy check-in. So I'll talk to you in 5.
Talk to you in 5. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Thank y'all so much for listening to our podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends so they can join our circle of collaboration on this journey. You can find us on Instagram at Conscious Collaboration Podcast, on Spotify, iTunes, and Audible, to name a few. Please join us next time for another deep dive into how you can live life in more alignment, mind, body, and business. Send us your questions and comments in our DMs or email us at consciouscollaborationpodcast@gmail.com. See you in 5 minutes.